Hello everyone, I'm Baltmatrix, and today we're taking a look at some new Cyberverse Deluxe class figures. We have PROWL, Soundwave, and Starscream. I picked these figures up over at the Big Bad Toy Store. I was really looking forward to getting these things because I thought Cyberverse was dead. Surprise, surprise, apparently it isn't. Starting off by taking a look at the one Autobot in this wave, we have PROWL, and this is a very strange figure, and the reason I say that is simply because of the plastic. All of the white plastic you see here is translucent. It's almost the same as what we had with Siege Apeface, but not quite. It's very strange. So, specifically the parts I'm talking about, the shoulders, the wings, part of the chest, and the feet are all this weird translucent light plastic. Oh, and the head. Sorry, the head too. Are all this weird translucent white plastic. It's not awful, mind you, but it feels very strange in the hand. See what I mean? Really translucent. It's just so weird. Plastic aside, the figure looks fan-freaking-tastic, and the coloring and the paint are all really well done. While good, the head sculpt is a little bit weird. That face is very thin and just feels more anime-like than anything else. PROWL comes with 3 accessories, his gun and these 2 missile blasts. As you can see, they fit on the weapons that he has on his shoulders. I wish these were a little more posable. They can only point like that and back. They can't go any farther forward. And that's about it. That's about it in terms of accessories. You can fit the blasting bits on the tip of his gun or on the tip of any other Cyberverse figure. Posability is pretty darn good. Head is on a swivel. There is a ball joint in the shoulder and then a hinge for the transformation. Swivel at the upper arm, 90-degree bend at the elbow. Fists do articulate on swivels, but good lord are these swivels on these wrists super tight. I'm not even going to try to move them because I think they're going to break. Ball joint in the hips, swivel at the upper thigh, bend at the knee that's kind of double jointed thanks to the transformation, and some foot articulation. Not as good as Siege figures, but good enough. And there is a hole in his butt for a figure stand. The hollowness of the figure, you can't really avoid it. All the bits are hollow, legs are hollow, forearms are hollow. I mean, even the chest is super hollow, but that's all to accommodate the transformation, specifically the legs and the chest, that is. Height-wise, the figure scales to just about the same size as a Siege Earthrise current Deluxe, and is a little bigger than most of the Deluxes that are showing up in Kingdom. Even though it scales fine with all the other figures, the one issue I have with this particular PROWL is the discernible lack of heels. So whenever I try to pose him, he ends up falling over because there's really nothing in terms of heels for this figure, which is a shame. Before we move on to the transformation, yes, I should compare him to, I don't know, Siege PROWL, but Siege PROWL is boxed up right now, and I really don't feel like getting so much white on the screen at once, so blue streak it is. Alright, transformation is kind of how you expect this to go. I like to start off with the feet and then fold the outside of the feet up like that and open up the panels on the back of the legs. Come to the chest and grab the entire chest and just kind of wedge it away from the figure like so. Turn the arms such that the shields for his police badge or the police badges are pointing forward. Then grab the whole backpack and fold it down. Flip out the roof and snap that into place, and then fold the shoulder guns back and down like this, so kind of like that. Take the entire back and flip it up over the head, so the head is going to be kind of in the middle of the car mode. Fold the shoulders in, and then fold the arms straight down, and do the same thing on the other side. And this is a little weird. It doesn't feel like it should sit like this, but this is the way it actually does. Come down to the legs, fold the toes in to the backs of the legs, flip the legs up, and this part is a little bit tricky. You might think that you want to fold these hip flaps up. Don't do that, because if you do, you're not going to be able to actually close everything up. Pick the backs in together. then take the entire top of the car and accordion it down and get those arms back into place, and then just close everything up and snap the doors into place. And believe it or not, snapping those doors into place is the hardest part of the transformation. And here we have Prowl in car mode, and I've got to admit, this is really nice. This is a really nice car mode. It just looks good, except for the, translucent plastic. And that's where I really have problems with the transformation. The plastic just doesn't feel quite right, and it feels very brittle. And I feel like I'm just going to break the damn thing. But overall, I got to admit, I like the car mode. I just wish that the paint was better, because the blue back here and on the roof is different from the blue that's here on the side and the front. So yeah, it's typical Hasbro, but there's not much I can do about it, and I don't have a 3D printer to print better wheels either. So I do appreciate the fact that the weapon and the little gimmicks can be used in this mode. You just put the little blaster bits on the back as exhaust guns or exhaust flames. It works. I just wish they weren't so dang bent. Oh well. Overall though, I like Prowl. It's a good version of this character, even though he didn't show up in Cyberverse all that much. Next, let's take a look at Soundwave, and Soundwave looks absolutely fantastic. This is such a nice looking figure. He comes with 2 accessories, and we'll be talking about them in a minute, but there's just one major problem with this figure. It's so back heavy, and it doesn't have any heels, that it has a tendency to fall over a little bit too easily. It's not a huge problem as long as you pose it correctly, but if you don't have the knees quite right, he just falls flat on his back like a sad turtle. This is probably the best looking Soundwave from Cyberverse we've ever gotten. It's excellent. It's well painted, it's well molded, it looks exactly like the character does in the show, and it's just fun. The only complaint I have is the head sculpt doesn't seem to scale with the rest of the figure. It feels too small for the body, but it works overall. Looks really nice, just feels a little tiny. Shoulder has a swivel and a hinge, and that's a nice ratcheting hinge. Swivel at the upper bicep, bend at the elbow. Fists do move, but they are on very tight ball joints, but they do move. There's a torso swivel, and I forgot to mention that Prowl also has a torso swivel, and then ball joint, swivel, bend at the knee, and toes. But I really feel like I need to go in here with a sander or a piece of sandpaper and sand this down a little bit to give the foot some more articulation forward. It does have side to side, but man, is that hard to move. And it feels like it's gonna just frickin' break. Unlike Prowl, there is no butt plug for him to actually be pegged into a figure stand, but he does have some accessories. The first accessory you saw was this, that's got a waveform on it, and it works. It plugs into his gun, which does detach and can be wielded in robot mode via his hand, though like Prowl, it's really hard to get the gun in place, and as you can see, he has a tendency to have to point it down, so yeah, I'm not sure how much use that's actually going to be in battle. The other accessory that Soundwave comes with is Laserbeak. We got a little Laserbeak here in the chest, which I greatly appreciate. It's not painted all that great, but who cares? Fold the bottom down, flip the wings out, flip the head up, and we got ourselves a tiny little laser beak. It'd be nice if there was, something up here. I get the distinct feeling that he originally was going to have some kind of extra bit that pegged into the back, but that was probably left off due to cost cutting. One thing that I do really like is he pegs into the standard Siege peg port, so he can be carried around, or pegged into Autobots in different places that he can just, peck them to death. when compared to other Deluxes, he's roughly the same size, though he does have a bit more bulk in the back, unlike, Blue Streak and Warpath here. But this Soundwave is dwarfed by Siege and Earthrise Soundwaves. And that makes sense, because we're talking about a Deluxe class figure versus 2 Voyager class figures. And then comparing the Laserbeaks isn't exactly fair, because again, size class differences. Or maybe we should start calling them price point differences. And I mean, it's not even fair to compare these guys in robot mode, though I do find it interesting that Earthrise Laserbeak looks very similar to the way that the character was designed in Cyberverse. Putting our bird brain back into the chest, let's get in the transformation. Start off with, take the fists and fold them up into the forearms, and then come to the backpack, open up these little side panels, and then flip the antenna around and lift the backpack all the way up. Come down to the legs and turn everything around 180 degrees and flip up the toes into the shins or the legs and combine them together, and then return to the top of the figure. Take the backpack and bring it up and all the way over the robot head. Take the arms and fold them up and back like this, and you really put it straight back. Fold the shoulder pads up like that, and then we can close the panels that we had open before. And before we fold the arms up, turn them so that the red points are pointing, or the red bits are pointing to the outside of the vehicle mode. Fold it up, and they should snap into place. Now that we've got part of the truck done, fold the antennas section down, flip the legs and hips up, and they will peg into place. Flip the grill up and peg that into place. And we're done. I really like this alt mode. I think it works really well for Soundwave. And you have the bonus of being able to flip down the grill and deploy Laserbeak from the hood. Or the bonnet, if you're in Britain. Either way, I really like this alt mode. It's a fun transformation. It's not hard, and it's just nice looking. It holds together well-ish. The only complaint I have is lack of paint. It really needs more paint. And let's face it, it doesn't have much in the way of ground clearance on the back there. You're not going to get much in the terms of the doot-de-doo on this one. I realize it's not totally fair to compare this Deluxe class figure with its Voyager class brethren, but as you can see, he actually scales okay to the different versions of Soundwave we've gotten in the past two-ish years. Between Space Barge and Tape Deck, I actually really like this version, and I would love if Hasbro gave us a Earthrise Siege quality version of this Soundwave. The last figure in this set is Starscream, and of the three, he is my favorite. He has an absolutely fascinating transformation, and he's got some cool accessories, including the chest missiles, which is, I'm not gonna lie, that's a little weird. I would have liked it if there were two, but he comes with those chest missiles, null rays, and then the guns that attach to his arms. It's a really interesting figure, and the coloring needs to be a little bit darker, but I'm okay with the kind of pearlish white that they're going for because they have highlighted it with nice, bright, vibrant other colors. And there's the, typical Starscream darker tones throughout the figure. Just like PROWL, he sports the clearish plastic bits for the weapons, that is, not for the plastic. And yeah, I'm really kind of happy with this figure. The missiles can peg into either side of his chest on these little pegs, or you can actually peg the missiles into the tip of the gun, or any gun, not that that makes any logical sense, but at least it looks cool. The face sculpt really works well, but like PROWL, it just feels too thin, but I guess that's what they're going for with the Cyberverse line. Posability-wise, head is on a ball joint as opposed to swivels. Ball joint at the shoulder, though the posability is affected by the wings, but hey, look, you can fold the wings back. That's awesome. Swivel at the bicep, bend at the elbow, fists do articulate on a swivel. There is a torso swivel, ball joint in the hips, swivel at the thigh, bend at the knee, way far for the transformation, and then there is some toe and ankle articulation, but you gotta be careful because of the way the ankle transforms. Unfortunately, there is no way to plug a flight stand or anything into him. You're going to have to go with one of those stands that's got the little claws that maybe could fit up under here behind the wings on his back. This version of Starscream is utterly dwarfed by his Siege and Earthrise counterparts. Now for the transformation, you need to be aware that this transformation is far more complex than either PROWL or Soundwave. To start off with, we're going to remove the guns. And yes, I realize that they go on the forearm and not on the shoulder or the upper bicep. I'm fine with that. Okay, start off with come down to the feet and fold the ankles all the way out like that. And push the legs together, and then the gray ankle components also need to be pushed together. Then come to the tail wing on the back of the figure and split it and fold the entire shoulder sections and back open like that, like you're literally splitting a hot dog or something. While Starscream is looking like a reject from a JoJo anime, go ahead and come to the back and grab what's left of the back, and just get your finger underneath and just pull the entire chest section up and away out of the chest. Open up the cockpit and fold the head down, close the cockpit up, flip the front of the plane mode out like that, take the entire torso and turn around 180 degrees, fold the cockpit section all the way down across the figure's butt. We fold up the hips into the chest, and then make sure that the upper legs or thighs are parallel to what was the backpack, and then fold it up so that the legs are flat on the bottom and they're in parallel with what was the back of the figure, or in this case, the back of the figure. Then that will allow you to fold the nose cone down, and it looks off, but this is right, honestly. And then you take the gray sections and fold them back and get them clipped into place right back here. That little orange piece will peg into that peg hole, and just getting everything lined up correctly, it's a pain. It is not that easy. And even with everything lined up correctly, it still just does not want to go into place the way you want it to or the way you think it should. For the arms, when you're finishing up the transformation, there's this little tab on the back of the shoulders that'll tab into the bottom of the legs or just above the ankles. And there's a little tab hole under the wing that will, the elbow will tab in there. So tab that in, fold that down, and tab that in. Not gonna lie, I really like this alt mode. Is it perfect? No. I really hate the fact that there are robot fists right there, but overall, I'm okay with it. I'm just gonna let it go. I think this alt mode works incredibly well. It's not perfect, but overall, it's pretty darn good. Again, I wish it had a little bit more paint. I would have loved to have seen the red carried over into all the wings. I would love to see some more color in certain spots. I would love the blues to actually be the same across the entire figure, but these are all Cyberverse problems. Oh, I would also like a little bit of black right up there, but I'm pretty sure I can do that myself. Yes, it still looks like there's a giant robot, or there's a robot folded up under the jet mode, but I mean, we've had that for so long with Seekers. Who cares at this point? In this mode, you can definitely add the little blasting gimmicks, and there is one nice addition. Right underneath the nose cone, there is a peg for demissiles. And I greatly appreciate the fact that they added that so that you can have all of the weapon effects mounted there. Yeah, the missiles are really large and look like they come from nowhere, but who cares? At least you can mount them and they look like they're supposed to be fired from the front of the plane. So I'm okay with it. Overall, these three figures are all great, but in order of my least favorite to most favorite, PROWL, Soundwave, Starscream. I really like this Starscream. I hope we get a Thundercracker and a Skywarp. I'm sure somebody will mod them, so really hoping we see that. And I'm probably going to take a paintbrush to it and paint in some spots because I like the figure that much. So folks, let me know what you think of these three down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Baltmatrix, And I'll catch you next time. And compared to Deluxe's from similar lines, he scales... Whoa, shoot! Bicep swivel.
See what's new from Windows.
Bend at the elbow. No, I don't want to see what's new from Windows.
Next up, the legal stuff.